We're having to start over. Sorry, guys. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the room with a special agenda. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedules to join me again to discuss things that we find caring for, whether it be your siblings or your mate or your children. But particularly today, we'll be talking about some particular issues that some people find a little scary there are different mental illnesses that people feel comfortable with. Autism, somewhat. They don't usually feel threatened or afraid as much. As they get older, there may be symptoms and other things that they develop. All things that affect the entire family, not just that particular individual, um, can be daunting. It can be a little overwhelming. And as caretakers, we often have a hard time being honest with ourselves and accepting help or accepting the fact that we need to get help, not just for them, interact regularly. One of the things that we forget to do is to take time for self care. It's important that we do that. It's important that we get treated as much as we are allowing them to get what they need. I was watching a video for someone else, of course, and they were discussing the issues that they personally had with individuals that were broken. But they were discussing individuals that they could not cope with anymore or deal with because they had decided that that was a lot. Well, oftentimes we become broken because of situations that we can't fix by ourselves. A lot of people don't recognize that you can't always be an island. Even if you are helping your child with different mental health issues, different developmental issues, and things of that nature, as time goes on, if they continue to live and you get to continue to live, you have to make sure that you can bear the weight of that. They are a gift. They have many talents. They're loving and wonderful in many ways, but it can be taxing for the family. It's important that we decide that we will care for ourselves as well. Get support. You're getting support for them, but are you making sure that not just you, but the other members of your family get help too? And it's not always easy to do or acknowledge. There's a certain amount of shame that comes with it. Last week we talked about individuals not understanding that surround you, uh, workmates, family, friends, neighbors, because they're looking from the outside in. And sometimes we are doing our very best effort to make sure that they are cared for, that their needs are met. And to others, it looks like we're not doing our best because they say things sometimes unintentionally hurtful. But because there's some shame that comes with we're doing so much, we're not being honest with ourselves about what we need. Getting that support to make sure that everybody's okay. Because there are instances where their siblings may be afraid of that child. Particularly, it depends on what's going on with them. With schizophrenia, one of the things that sometimes develops because many children that have autism or on the spectrum have dual diagnosis, meaning they have more than one thing that happens. And as they hit puberty, sometimes the gates of Hades opens. that that the fear, because it's just a whole bunch of overwhelm on occasion. But we can't expect that everyone else can deal with it without having trauma of their own. We don't make sure that they're okay as well. So it might be important to find a support group, not just for your child, and making sure they see your therapist and they get the proper medication. The one that is receiving, the one that is having the issues, but it may be that your other children, if they have siblings, yourself, your mate, will need therapy. You'll need a support group because that's where you find sometimes your village. The Bible says sometimes you will find people that are closer than your natural family. Because of your family sometimes doesn't mean that they may not intend to be distant, but what might be happening is they can't identify, they don't understand. For instance, a person that has never had weight issues might have a difficult time understanding what a person who has had weight issues all their life is dealing with. From their perspective, it looks like that person just does not have self control, where they may have, besides genetic issues, they may have health issues that contribute to their struggles with their personal weight loss journey. They may have other stress issues that may be contributing to it. They may have so many things that we personally, as an individual that hasn't had severe issues with that issue, with weight issues, would not comprehend. So sometimes in our particular situation, those that don't identify are not necessarily intentionally not being supported. They just don't know the proper way to do it. So, with that being said, I wanted to introduce you all to this particular book, and it talks about your adolescence has schizophrenia. Now, yes, this is about um, those who are walking into the mind, the minefield, I'll say, of have children that are teenagers or becoming teenagers that have um, schizophrenia. That diagnosis, what you're looking for, what signs are you looking for, but it also would help you identify those who may have developed adult onset schizophrenia. What will you deal with? In chapter 4, it talks about all the different things that you will have encounter and how to help your family cope with the different sides of that, because sometimes there'll be days where you'll have great days, and then they'll have days when people may be afraid. Not necessarily that they're all violent, that is not what this is, but just the interaction, the constant fear that it may be uncomfortable, um, not knowing how to properly deal with it, and where you all are getting along and having some level of normalcy and not having so much stress. Or it can be stressful if they have siblings, older or younger. This book also talks about resources, different groups to talk to, different medications, different things that can be done to find those resources, what you are entitled to, how is the school system effective, what are they responsible for in that. Also, sometimes it even starts young. So this book also, The Out of Sync Child, has been so helpful at every stage that we have went through with both of my children. For this, if you can look it up on Amazon and get it, if your child is in the early stages of finding out, you found out that they have developmental issues, or you're at the stage where you're starting to see other things happening, what can you do? Who can help you? Where do you find that support at? This book has been so, so helpful. talking about helping to this one, oh my goodness, finding out and understanding the disorder. Once you find out what you're looking for, and if you get that diagnosis that they are schizophrenic, and there are different forms of schizophrenia. A lot of people think that's just that one particular where they're hearing voices and they're violent. It's not necessarily that. Sometimes they are in danger of self harm as well. So these are my new survival books. Also, one more. This one here, The Parent's Guide to Specific Learning Disorders. So many of these things go hand in hand. Lots of people don't even realize that schizophrenia also presents as learning disorders. Your child may be struggling and having a difficult time in school and constantly ending up in the counselor's office or in the principal's office. And they aren't all trained to understand what they're looking at. So you have to, because the school isn't required to give them evaluations for certain things if they don't have any presentation of this specific disabilities, because that's not what they do. They specialize in placement. That's why they don't have a psychiatrist or psychologist. They have a counselor. Now there is a school psychiatrist, but they don't reside within the building. There is some testing that are done at different stages, but it's not that. In the very beginning, when we started to get the diagnosis for our daughter, it was hard. And then for our son and different things that he has went through, and the family members that were loving and that we shared our information with and were kind enough to get our son and help him. And we didn't tell other people because there is a certain level of shame. There is a lot of pain. There is a lot of sadness that comes with it. And once you start to deal with those things, and this is what is in front of you, and you are in a lot of ways overwhelmed and trying to not let your child know that you're overwhelmed, or your mate, because your first thoughts are, how can I do the best job that I can do without bothering so many people? How can I not make my child feel ashamed or less than, or that I'm upset with them, or that I am displeased, or in some children's cases, because they begin to understand that something is different about them. I've had them and other parents say that their children have said that they wish that they had not been born, because they do start to take in the stress that we are trying to hide. They feel it. Even if we don't say, um, this is happening, we have to be more honest with them. And at some point, you start to say prayers of pleading, almost willing to make a deal, which there's nothing that we can offer our Father in heaven that He needs from us. And the things that we're dealing with, it's not necessarily going to go away. So my prayers started to change. My prayers changed from, if you could make this easier, if I could do more to make this not so hard for them, if I could, I'll do this, if you could fix it. We know that there will be a time where He will heal the nations everywhere, but that is in His hands and that is in His time. But as time went on, my prayers changed to help me have the strength to be honest with myself about what I was capable of, to be honest with myself about what I could change, to be honest with myself and be accepting of what it was and what I needed to do and how to and prayers to help my family bear what was happening so that we could do what and give us strength to deal with it, to do our job as his servants, but to understand that even if things weren't going to be the way we hoped that they would change for, we could do what we needed to do. And that's not always easy, to accept that what I need to do is address my own well being as well. To not be in a place where, because sometimes it does get dark, it will. It won't always be bright and shiny, and it won't always be dark. But it's important that you look out for not just because it gets hard sometimes where you feel like you're trapped in a space of dealing with them and dealing with yourself without realizing the ones that are immediate in your house need care too. And in some ways, it is almost selfish to decide to hide that you are struggling. Because when you aren't honest about your struggle, you can't get the help that you need. If you were in a house and you accidentally set it on fire, the issue isn't that you set it on fire. The issue is you need to save yourself and your family. You can't worry about what your neighbors think because the fire won't go out because you hide. The first thing that children do if they accidentally set a fire or they feel responsible or they're afraid of it, they hide. It's the one thing that firemen tell parents and teachers try to teach children in school. They have those fire drills for that purpose, and they have those them come to the school and talk to them and explain to them the need to get out of the house if it's on fire. Don't hide. You could cost someone else their life hiding. And when you have children that have mental health issues, hiding and trying to help your family to hide what's happening means that you don't get the help you need and they don't get the help that they need because we're busy being ashamed. It won't help you. It won't help them. That is the deal. That every day it's one day at a time. So for me and my family, lately I'm being more gracious and having more gratitude for the good things that are good and sitting down and talking to each other, even when those moments of meltdowns are there, when the thoughts are not rational, when the conversations are not easy, to sit down and rationalize with each other how we are feeling. Why was this appropriate? Why wasn't this appropriate? What's good about your brother? What's good about your sister? It's important. And it's important to have that help outside of having those conversations, outside of having that medication. Find your group. Make sure that you don't spend your time hiding. Find support for your entire family. Otherwise, survival will be difficult. Emotional survival will be very, very difficult. So, once again, thank you all for joining me in the room. I hope this was encouraging and supportive. Soon, we will be having a officer come and talk to us who's been working with the school system on a subject that we had talked about not long ago about helping your children not become predators, how to find out the things that you may not recognize within your child that may be things that might make them be considered a predator, how to help them not become someone who is accidentally put into the system, how to protect them so that they understand more, so that they don't have someone prey upon them. Because most people recognize when you have children that are on the spectrum or have mental health disorders, those are the ones that are preyed upon or groomed to be preyed or become prey. So we will be having that discussion soon. It will be a question and answer. If you are interested in joining us at Dallas Library on the particular day, I will be posting it soon, what date exactly that will be. And I hope you all join me. You all have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us again with a special agenda. I love you guys. And make sure that you are kind to your family and friends and loved ones. Show them love and kindness, even if you don't receive it back, because kindness is a choice. Have a good evening. Okay. Okay. I'm sure it wasn't much. Okay, it's 6 o'clock. On the nose. You can't. Okay.